What is up, Colts fans? We're here with a new show for the channel. I think I called it SI Colts Draft Show. SI Colts Draft Show. We're going to be going week by week here. Me and Hag are going to be talking about the NFL draft, talk about some players for the Colts, and talk about, some players that we love in this class. And, we had to kick it off with a positional group that we don't really love in this class. I mean, it's going to be a fun conversation tonight. But before we jump into stuff tonight, guys, I did want to add some clarification for what happened to Hicks Hag late in the season with the DB breakdowns. I caught COVID around Christmas, and I was dealing with some after effects for the rest of the season. I could not talk for like a sentence without coughing. Since then, I've got extra medications to get that down. But that's what kind of happened to Hicks Hag late in the season. We had to stop doing it because I literally couldn't record. It would have just been the Hag show with me.
You had to play on the IR.
I was on IR. Yep, it was brutal. It was brutal. But we are back with an all-new show here talking about the draft. And we always hinted at it throughout the season that we just wanted to talk about the draft anyway. So we're here. We're here. And we're talking quarterbacks. The Colts might be in the quarterback market. Nope. We don't know. Especially with the way that Carson Wentz ended the season, they could absolutely be in the quarterback market. We'll have to see what goes on with that. But this quarterback class, some people are saying it's the worst since 2013. And I know that gets thrown out a lot, like every time that anyone thinks there's kind of a bad quarterback class, it's worse since 2013. I know you and I weren't really scouting back then, but what do you think about this quarterback class just on your first impressions?
It's okay. It's real. I'll say mid. There's not a guy that I'm just like he's a franchise changer. He's a building block to a franchise. I think there's some guys who could potentially be good, especially in the right situation. When you talk about, I think it's probably three guys. I think if they land in the right spot, I think they'll have success. But then that doesn't happen that often. Okay group, nothing special, but we're betting on potential, and it's older. It's an older class. A lot of seniors. I think all 6 of the top. Well, if we say 8, they're redshirt seniors, or seniors, or something along them lines. I think Howell was a senior.
The youngest would be junior. Corral, I think, would be the youngest.
Yeah, Corral's a true junior.
True junior, because the COVID year, he's a true junior.
So it's like you think about all the other guys have been in college for 4 years now, coming out. And that's why I think they're all down in Mobile. You have Howell going to be down in Mobile. You have Ritter going to be down in Mobile. You have Willis. Zap's going to be down there. Strong's going to be there.
Pickett,
yeah. And so, some late bloomers in here, some guys who have played a lot of football, so we got a lot of film on them. Interesting group. Not as fun and controversial to talk about as last year's group when you talk about, the big 3 or 4. But, solid group of quarterbacks, nothing special.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the way I put it. Solid and nothing special. Well, one of them could be special, but honestly, outside of that, you probably aren't getting a special quarterback in this class. You might get a decent starter. Maybe if a couple of these guys who are super raw hit really well, you could get an above average starter or a star. But, if you're talking how this class grades against like last year's class, you're probably looking at quarterback 1 in this class is probably quarterback 5 last year's class, 6, wherever. Where did Mac Jones was 5 last year.
Mac Jones was 5. Yeah.
So maybe 6 would probably be the top quarterback in this class. It's just that kind of class here. And I think that opens the door for there being so many different opinions this year. I mean, I've seen Ritter quarterback 1. I've seen Malik Willis quarterback 1. Kenny Pickett quarterback 1. Howell and Corral getting quarterback 1s. I don't think I've seen a Strong quarterback 1 yet, but I've seen just about everyone else.
Yeah, there was bubbling early in the season. When everybody was trying to find the Burrow, the Wilson, the guy who was okay the year before that was ready to explode. Some people talking, and I kind of, I said he would have a good year just because his whole team came back. All his receivers came back, weaker conference. He was supposed to light it up, kind of Zack Wilson-esque.
And he did.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And so, like, he didn't quite have the fanfare. I don't think he's and not a shot at him, but not as cool as Zack Wilson. Zack Wilson had the drip down. He just had it. But I think Carson Strong got some buzz early in the year, but a lot of different names have been jockeying for that QB1 spot. We saw some guys fall completely out, like Rattler. He transferred coming to the season. We saw Howell and them, they kind of fizzled out. But I talked about it on my podcast. I was like, I wanted to see how Howell would play because I knew he didn't have anything coming back. They had some transfers. They had a couple weapons, but they lost.
And Ty Chandler. That was it. Downs and Ty Chandler.
And they lost what, 3 or 4 offensive linemen? They lost a lot. And we saw that the first game for Virginia Tech, he was getting harassed.
VT is the worst team to go against when you're kind of learning like new players and having a new offensive line. I mean, they will blitz you until your eyes bleed. They will get on you. But yeah, we're gonna go one by one with these top. I have them as top 7 quarterbacks. This is no ranking whatsoever yet for me. I'm still very early in watching film. I have the guys who I think would be my quarterback, like 1, 2, 3, and all that, but it's still very early. There's a lot more information that's going to come out about these guys, especially down in Mobile. But we're just going to go guy by guy and talk about each of these top 7 guys. And let's start with the guy who almost won the Heisman this year, Kenny Pickett. When you talk about late bloomers, I mean, he's the perfect example of a late bloomer. I think he had more touchdown passes this year than he had in his other 4 years combined.
He completely took off.
Outstanding season. Yeah, just completely took off. Mastered a really, really difficult system to learn in that Mark Whipple offense. Pro style offense. He mastered it. I mean, if you watch that film, he's in full control of that offense. And I enjoyed his film. What did you think, Kenny Pickett, watching his film?
Pleasantly surprised. And then when you go back and watch, last year's, he improved a lot. Not as dramatic as say a Burrow did, because that was like perfect storm. But I guess a great value version of that when you look at Pitt's offense, their weapons, what Addison was able to do, and that whole offensive crew. I was surprised by it. I knew he had a good year. But he checked some solid boxes. Arm was good. He's a good athlete. He moves around. Everything is solid with Kenny Pickett, and that's why I think people feel good about him, because I think he's relatively safe. If he goes to a decent team and he can make the throws, and you're not questioning things here and there. But like we said earlier, there's nothing special, I believe, about Kenny Pickett. I just think he's a good football player, a good quarterback. He's going to check the boxes. He's not little. The arms there, the mobility's there. He's not Malik Willis or anybody, but he can run. Solid quarterback. He can make the throws. A little bit of inconsistency, I think, when driving the ball to the far sides of the field, he'll miss at times there. And I think he locks on. I think I put that in my notes. He locks on to his initial read a little bit too long, and then when it's not there, he kind of panics a little bit, and then he tries to do a little too much. But solid quarterback. I think he's going to end up going obviously in the first round. But maybe in a situation where after some of the other guys may be gone and we're looking at like a Washington or somebody, they just need to grab a guy. Maybe they go grab him. But, solid football player.
Yep, very solid. I really hope he goes in that kind of mid to late first round, because he could get with a team that's already kind of solid or established or good. Yeah. Before Sean Payton's retirement, I thought the Saints would have been a perfect fit for him there in like that middle first round. Now, not so sure about that, but yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there with Kenny Pickett. Just a rock solid quarterback. I think coaches in the NFL are going to love how well he got that Whipple system down, because that Whipple system is an NFL system with NFL terminology, NFL checks, and he did all that really well. And I think if you're rating him against all the other quarterbacks in this class, that's the one thing he has over every other guy, is just that command at the line of scrimmage, that command pre-snap. Mechanics are very good. I'm really good friends with his quarterback trainer, and I know that he's been working on those mechanics for a long time. They're probably maxed out. Like, I don't think he's going to become a more athletic thrower. I don't think he's not going to become Malik Willis with the way that he pulls his hips through every throw. But when you're talking about lining up with the target, with finding guys down the field and always being in the right position to make accurate throws, he's going to be in that right position. Poise-wise, I think he's one of the more poised quarterbacks in this class, if not the most poised. I'm not going to say it's always amazing. He does have the tendency to kind of roll to his right a little bit when he is pressured. But, I mean, just overall, so solid. I think he's going to be a fine NFL starter. Is that worth the top 10 pick? Yeah, that's where you get a little.
You know what? With quarterbacks, I was having a conversation with one of my buddies. I was like, if a quarterback is, because it's a premium position, and premium positions, if I forget who it was. Was it you? Maybe we were talking about quarterback.
Oh gosh.
And I would say if it's a premium position, right, and you would take a guy in the first round, he gets pushed up automatically, right? So he may not be a top 10 overall guy, but if he's a top 25 guy, he gets pushed into that 8 to 15 range because it's a premium position. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think my only kind of push, because I always agree with that. If I rank a quarterback as like a day 2 guy, I'm always thinking, okay, I'd be cool with taking him day 1 because it's such a premium position. But my fear, if you take a guy like Pickett, are you always kind of stuck in that quarterback purgatory, where it's like, is this guy good enough to win a championship with? And, it's hard to say that about a guy who's, 24 and just had the best season of his career. He could, how much better?
I mean, best case scenario, you get Derek Carr. You know what I'm saying? No, my bad. Best case scenario, you get Joe Burrow. Okay, but Derek Carr.
Absolute best. Absolute best.
but if you're lucky, you get a Derek Carr, somebody who's steady and consistent, and you give him some weapons, and he can make all the throws, and you don't worry about it. And if you build a good team, you're gonna win football games. But like you said, the worst thing you can do as a franchise is to get stuck in QB purgatory, and you're like, well, we're sitting here, and you take a guy in the first round, then you got him for 5 years. It's like, do we extend him? Do we not? Do we draft another one? Can the guy we draft beat out this guy who knows all of our stuff and is at decent? And that's the spot you don't want to be in. So I think you hit that one on the head.
Yeah, it's tough, and that's kind of where the Browns are right now. They spent a first overall pick on a guy who's supposed to save their franchise. And now they're kind of like, well, he was fine when healthy.
Yep.
But what do we really have here? Is he actually a franchise guy? And I think that could be a very real situation that teams could get into with Pickett. I do like Pickett, though. Before we move on from Pickett, there is one more thing we got to talk about. Like you said, he checks the box on everything except hand size. How concerned are you?
They're 8 inches.
What could be very, very, very small hands. Yeah. Very small.
They're it's not the biggest fear of mine. When I think quarterbacks, I don't freak out and go, oh my God, does he have big hands? But it's something to note, and I think when you look across the league, like, they just don't have little hands.
Yeah, Jared Goff, I think, is the smallest starter hands, and he's at 9, I believe.
And Jared Goff's Jared Goff.
Jared Goff's Jared Goff. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like it's definitely something to note, but I think you put that in the same category as, like, does a receiver have to run a 4.3 or 4.4?
Yeah.
Like, they need, I would like you to, and there's going to be anomalies, but if he doesn't have an issue, if his hands are strong, I think that's probably more important than having big hands. But he seems to be okay.
Yeah, I like Kenny Pickett. He's probably my early running for quarterback 1, just because in this class, I think just having the sure thing is going to be is something that you have to have pushed up there. But let's talk about the guy who you talked about on Twitter the other day, the guy that everybody on Twitter after that Bills and Chiefs game was saying could be the savior of their franchise. Malik Willis. Some people will have him as quarterback 1. Some people will have him as quarterback 6. What do you think about him going into this class?
I think Malik Willis is the most exciting quarterback in this class. Because not just because he has the best running ability since Lamar Jackson, And not to just say that, like, because the kid can really kill you on the ground, not run. He can destroy you on the ground, just like ask UAB. You know what I mean? Like, he ran through them,
Yes.
around them, up and down the field on them. But he has, I think, by far the strongest arm. I think Corral's right up there, but it's easy. I think Malik Willis is quarterback one in arm strength. And that's the exciting part because every tool is there. I know, like, Dilfer, was it Dilfer or Palmer? One of them, like, easy gas thing. Like, he's a violent thrower of the football. Even when he doesn't try to, the ball just flies off. And we were talking about it off camera. When I watched all the other quarterbacks, I watched three or so quarterbacks before I watched Malik Willis's film, and the velocity and the rotation on his football is just different than the other guys. It's like when you think you're fast and you run a 4.445, and then you see Tyreek Hill run, you're like, damn, that's fast. That's Malik Willis. That's why he's so exciting, and that's why after that game, when we saw the arm arrogance by Mahomes and Allen, out there, it's like, well, there's only one of those in this class, and that's Malik Willis. And that's the exciting part, because we know how swayed the views were on Josh Allen coming out. And not that we're banking on a Josh Allen to happen, but we know it's not black and white. And the quarterback grading or critique is changing, because quarterbacks are coming to the league a little bit more, not as refined, but they're also more creative. They also tend to be more athletic right now. And I think he's fitting that more modern mold of quarterbacks, as far as, that you want. And when you look at Mahomes, people just seem to forget that he wasn't a finished product coming into the league. They forgot that he sat 15 games. They forgot Josh Allen struggled in year one, and he had to clean up a lot of his mechanics. And I think that's Malik Willis, because there are some there's some wow throws and wow plays, but then there's some plays where it's just like, there's no way you're ever going to play quarterback in the NFL. What the hell are you doing? And that's why Malik Willis is such a such a big talking point, because he is the ultimate home run or strikeout quarterback, because he can make all the throws, he can run around, but he also could end up throwing 20 interceptions if you let him.
Yeah. I think the thing I said before the show is, like, he could be the next Jake Locker, or like, I don't want to say he's a bust now, but like Jordan Love type.
Yeah.
Or he could be the next Kyler Murray, or I don't even know. I don't know if I want to go all the way up to Pat Mahomes, because he's the best thing in the NFL right now.
That's crazy.
But, like, Malik Willis has the most raw potential and upside in this class. He's the most athletic thrower by far and away when it comes to the way that his hips rotate, the way that his arm is just naturally strong.
Just has pop.
Just the ball flies out of his hand. Like, it probably is like, I'm not going to say it's Josh Allen level, but it's probably close to, like, the way Mahomes looked coming out. The way that ball could just go. Now, Mahomes is a lot more accurate, I think, even though Mahomes have more pause with Willis is, like, Allen always knew where the ball had to go, and he was poised in the pocket. Now, would Allen actually get the ball there? No.
Or would his receivers make the catches, because they were bad.
He dropped some absolute darts at Wyoming, and they would drop everything. Now, Willis also had that too, but with Willis, there will be concepts where it's like the one I said before we recorded here was, like, it's a dagger concept, and he's got that deep in, and the safety bails on it or whatever, and he has that deep in open. He will completely ignore that sometimes and just roll out, and then he will have just issues with his poise in the pocket, where it's like, dude, why are you abandoning this pocket? There is no reason.
Climb, make the throw.
Make the throw, or like, you're an elite athlete, you should be able to move around the pocket. And because the way he shreds, guys in the pocket, like, you should be a stronger passer from the pocket. Those are the things that scare me the most, because when I see guys who are like raw quarterbacks coming out, it's the poise, I think, is the biggest thing that makes or breaks them. The Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, those guys were always so poised in the pocket. Now, it got them killed sometimes in college and early in their careers. I mean, not Mahomes, but Allen. That's going to be the biggest thing for Willis. He's going to have to end up in a really good situation. But if we're talking pure talent, it's not even close. I don't like Corral, maybe, but Willis is Willis is just a freak when it comes to pure talent. And if someone had him as quarterback 1, I get it. Even though I don't know if I can't get that high, I'm just still have so many pauses. But he's a good prospect, man.
Oh yeah, no, he's fun. He's a fun guy to talk about because there's going to be criticism, and everybody that talks about him is going to admit the criticism.
Yeah,
and that's hard to do because there's not a lot of times where people are like, "You're right," you know what I mean? You're right, willing to do this and willing to do that, but you can't ignore the positive intangibles that he has, and that's what makes him such a fun guy to talk about because you can bash him, but you can't ignore the good. And so, fan.
Yeah, completely agree. Now let's get to who Matt put it right here in the comments here. Howell was the preseason number 1 pick. Let's get to Sam Howell. He comes into his final season with all the hype, number 1 pick. Him or Rattler would be the number 1 pick going into the draft. And he had the down year that I think anyone who follows college football and follows North Carolina expected. Lost most of his offensive line, lost almost all his receivers. I mean, he had Josh Downs. That was really good. Lost those 2 superstar running backs. And he was kind of inconsistent. What's your kind of takeaway from watching Howell this year?
It was kind of the worst case scenario with Allen. I mean, with Howell, because like you talked about, he lost 2 really good receivers. He lost, some offensive linemen. He lost his running game. They had to kind of find their identity. They got a ton of pressure all year long. They couldn't block to save their lives at times. But, all the positives were there because you could see them. Very inconsistent. I think this year, he was trying to do too much because he knew he had to put it on his back. And a lot of times that's the worst case scenario for a quarterback. Sometimes you just got to live to fight another day. And him being so talented and capable and being the home run hitter he was, like last year at the preseason, I put in my notes, home run hitter. Because when he lets the ball fly, he's throwing that ball has a ton of air and it has a ton of, it's just dropping in there and it's beautiful. It has a good deep ball. But this year we didn't get to see all those wild plays by Sam Howell because I just don't think he had the guys to do it. Is Downs bad? No. I think he's good. I think people are going to love him next draft cycle.
Yeah.
And I think he had some decent players around him. It just wasn't the same. And I think they were outmatched. And so I'm really excited to watch Sam Howell at the Senior Bowl because he can make up a lot of ground or he can kind of stay where he's at and fall down and kind of, end up being a second, round type guy. So, yeah, it's, Sam Howell's an interesting one because we kind of called it. And I think he'll get a pass to some extent, but he has to kill the individual workouts, has to throw well at the combine, has to throw well in Mobile in order to do so.
Yeah, I think the biggest struggle with me watching Howell's film is that offense did him no favors. I'm not talking about the talent. I'm talking about RPO every play, quick screen every other play. It was quick screen, RPO, or deep ball. That was it. How much of a read am I going to get on how he can see the middle of the field or how he's going to attack certain coverages? I'm just not getting a read for that at all. I think he's going to be really behind the 8 ball when it comes to adjusting to the NFL in year 1 because of that offense. Can he adjust fully and make a play in his rookie season? Sure, but I just think that if you compare him to a guy like Pickett who played in an NFL offense and was making those checks at the line, who was having everything
it won't be close.
It's not close. Pickett is ready to play day 1. I don't think Howell is, and that's my biggest fear. And then when you talk, if I'm taking a guy who's not ready to go day 1, who's not ready to play day 1, why would I not take Willis over Howell? So it's just it's a tough comparison, but I like a lot of what Howell brings. I think he's a good athlete. He runs hard. I love the way he runs when he gets out of the pocket. Deep ball is probably the best in the class, just on a consistent level in terms of dropping it in there. He's really, really good on RPOs. He had a lot of practice at it, obviously. But he's excellent RPOs. I mean, just very, very quick with the play fakes and getting it out over the middle. I think he almost always makes the right decision. But there's just a lot of things there when it comes to playing quarterback in the NFL that I don't think he has yet. I don't think he has a great feel in the pocket. And obviously that was kind of exasperated this year with the offensive line and the weapons. I don't know how well he's going to be at layering throws and being consistent in that aspect or throwing with anticipation. A lot of things we talk about. So I think he's very much a project, but I think the only path for him to start year 1 would be like a Jalen Hurts centered offense. The way that the Eagles used Jalen Hurts this year, I think Howell could do that, but you're gonna have to live with the consistencies like the Eagles did with Jalen Hurts.
The problem with that is Jalen is such an elite athlete. He saves himself so many other times. That for all the flaws in Jalen's game, just like anything else in sports, when you're an elite athlete, when you're a strong athlete, you get away with things, and that's why Jalen's been able to extend the grace period he's been given in Philly in the year 3, because he does enough with because he's capable and he's athletic and he does enough, and you're like, well, if we take a Sam Howell, can he beat out Jalen? Can he get away with some of the flaws that we have in this and on this team? Can he beat him out? Do you risk that and end up, wasting a pick on a guy who can't beat out my starter, who I didn't have to, reach for a guy and go get?
Yep. So yeah, I like Howell. I like the upside. I just gotta see it. Like I gotta see an NFL version of him. We didn't see that in college, and kind of sticking with basically the same thing, because my scouting reports for these two players are going to be extremely similar. Matt Corral, at Ole Miss. Yeah. I kind of wrote the same things down. So many RPOs. So many.
And so many wide open throws.
Many wide open throws, man.
It's just boom, and he's throwing on air, and it's like, okay, like I get it. Really good athlete. Again, he can run. He can actually run. Good mobility. He has a really strong arm. Right up there. It's not Malik Willis, but it's close, I would say. Real effortless. Thrower. And it's been that way since high school. You watch the junior tape, and for a guy that has a strong arm, the majority of his picks were underthrown balls to the, driving to the far side of the field. And it was weird because it's like, hey, I know you can throw. Why are you throwing it behind, like 3-4 yards behind your receiver? Maybe just mechanics as far as like his footwork and things like that get really inconsistent, because he is a good athlete and he does have that like you said, that violent throwing motion. But like I said, if it's not, intact from the ground up, that's when you start seeing these throws. They float and they drift and they fall all over the place. And that's something that, I think he improved on, but the offense helped him a lot. And if you're a capable passer and you have a guy like Kiffin, who's an offensive genius, he's going to make it as easy as possible for you. And Corral's talented enough. He's going to make all the throws. That's not an issue for him. I like Corral, but I'm also, I'm scared of Corral.
Me too.
You know what I mean? Because
I get you.
In the right situation, he could flourish. You know what I'm saying? Or we can get Zack Wilson 2.0, and he struggled really, really bad this year. So yeah, Corral's an interesting one. I want to see him work out. I want to watch, all this stuff. I wouldn't be shocked if he went before, some of these other guys, because people are going to watch him throw. Just like everything else, they're going to watch these guys run fast, and they're going to be ooh, and they're going to be odd. And, they're going to watch them throw in person. They're going to be like, shit, this kid can rip it. And, it happens every year. So Corral, very similar to Howell. Offense made it easy for him. Good athlete, can make the throws. But we didn't see, true. That's an NFL starter, in his time in college, because of the systems that they run.
Yeah, I think the thing that came to mind for me was a less creative Zack Wilson. Zack Wilson could do a lot of crazy things off platform. But when you're looking at just the issues that Zack Wilson had and what kind of led to Zack Wilson having a really bad rookie year for the most part, he kind of played well down the stretch. But for the most part, it's mechanics. The mechanics are brutal with Zack Wilson. And Corrals are pretty bad too. They're not as bad as Zack Wilson's, but they're rough. He does not like to align his feet. That's why so much of their offense is.
They like jump. They like to jump into everything, and they like to sling. They like to sling everything, and it's weird because that just doesn't work at the highest level.
Yep,
you don't get away with it.
What you'll see on those underthrows a lot is he's not setting his feet to his target. He's setting it to where the target was when he lets go of the ball. He's not setting it to where he's trying to throw to the target. So you'll see him if he's throwing it to his left, he'll underset that throw, and he'll be throwing against his body. And like you said, he's a very, very fluid, athletic thrower. That's why he has such a big arm when he can step into it. It's just you're working. It's kind of like, you see so many of these. Zack Wilson again is just a great example where Zack Wilson's arm did not look like number 2 overall pick arm in a lot of these games.
Yep.
But we all know he has a great arm. Like, he has a phenomenal arm.
And it's weird. You know what I mean? You it's a head scratching situation. You're just like, okay, like that don't really add up. It just doesn't. You're like, what's going on? But then if you know, you've been in depth, especially with the Wentz stuff, and quarterback mechanics now, you understand. Like when I watch a quarterback miss a ball, I immediately want to rewind and be like, let me go look at his feet.
Yep.
Was he set? What was going on? Like how is he making the throw? What's really going on here? And I think that's like you just said, like you alluded to, it's mechanics. It's all mechanics.
And I think it's fixable. Like, mechanics are very fixable depending on where you go, who you work with. We've seen guys make the adjustment. I know Josh Allen's the biggest example, but like Tom Brady's a great example too. Tom Brady had terrible mechanics early on, and then he became the poster boy for Tom House and all the 3D QB and all their success with all these quarterbacks across the league. But Corral has the same issues as Howell, I think, where it's just that offense did no favors for his evaluation. I think he has a better feel than Howell. I will completely agree with that. Where I just think he's like he feels the pocket better. He maneuvers in the pocket better. He trusts the pocket more. It's still not at an NFL level. The arm is great. I think there's a lot to work with there, but you're not seeing many layered throws. You're not seeing him attack many different levels at different areas, like you're seeing a Ritter or a Pickett kind of do. So he's a tough evaluation, but I think he's just like Howell, where if you grab him and throw him in an NFL offense from day one and say, okay, go be our starter, you're going to see a lot of issues like Zack Wilson.
There's going to be growing pains. There's going to be a lot of growing pains.
Yeah. And if you take him and you either bench him early on or you have him in more of like a Jalen Hurts style offense where it's like a little bit of run heavy, RPO, like quick passes and stuff, I think he can survive that. I don't know how good your team will be.
And I'm always a fan of, okay, if you draft a quarterback, I don't care who you are as an offensive coordinator, you adjust that offense to that player. You don't, if you believe in a kid enough to draft them, I feel like you adjust to them, because now your job, your livelihood is now connected to that kid. So if you want to be stubborn and, hey, we're going to run this, and this is how we're going to run it, and that kid has never ran that, just be prepared. In the NFL, you have a short leash. Just be prepared to get fired.
Because Joe Judge is a great example with Daniel Jones.
Bro, just I don't know if you need to call what was it, Cutcliffe? Was that his coach? Yeah. I don't know if you need to call him and see, like, hey, what do I need to do to get the best out of this guy? And what would you suggest? I know, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to do that. Stop forcing your philosophies and things like that on quarterbacks. When you listen to Lincoln Riley talk, and he's had a ton of successful quarterbacks in college, it's like, if your offensive system isn't quarterback friendly, then you don't have a system.
Yep.
You adjust it to that, and that's why it's had success with Kyler, Baker, and Jalen, who are all totally different quarterbacks.
And Caleb Williams now, who's even more of a runner than.
Yeah, and he's a stud though. He's a good player. I want to watch him develop. Obviously, young guy. He's out there just running around, ripping, running through people and just letting stuff fly. But talented kid. I think he's probably going to end up at USC, and I'm sure he'll light it up there too. So we'll be talking about him in a year and a half.
No, for sure. Well, it's more exciting to talk about 2023 or 2024 or whatever. Well, let's get to a guy who I've seen him as high as mocked as quarterback one and number one overall player picked by some people who love him. And I've legit seen him down as quarterback 6 or 7 for other people. Like, he probably has more volatility than Malik Willis, and that's Desmond Ritter. One of the most winningest quarterbacks in the history of college football. Had so much success at Cincinnati and did a lot of good things. What do you think about Desmond Ritter?
I was excited to watch him this year. I'm glad he came back. Thought he would have came out. If he probably would have came out last year, he's probably quarterback 6. I think big kid.
He probably goes over Trask in round 2, I would say.
Yeah. Quarterback, solid arm, is good. Got to see him in person, good size, good arm, really athletic kid. Got to see him in person in the Cotton Bowl. Not overly impressed. I'll just grading him. He didn't move the needle for me. I know when I watch Desmond Ritter, it screams backup. back up. He's in my opinion, he's the ideal development QB. He sits the bench for a while. Maybe people see him once or twice. They get excited about him. He's just like it's hard to describe him. Really inconsistent. His accuracy is all over the place at times. I didn't see a quarterback at all. Like even when Josh Allen would struggle in college, you would see, okay, he's a tank. Okay, he has a cannon. Okay, man, he threw 3 interceptions right here, and his receivers dropped 4 balls, and he completed 4 passes. But that kid may have something. When you go back and watch,
there was like 4 throws in that game that I will put my life on.
Yeah, you're like, wow, oh wow, or he's just trucking people, and you get excited. When I watch Desmond Ritter, I don't get excited.
No.
And even when you're outmatched, I've seen quarterbacks get outmatched. I saw Kyler Murray get his team, they got whooped by Alabama. And I still was like, wow, he's good.
Yeah.
I saw him make a throw, and I'm just like, okay, I don't think anybody else in this class can make that throw. I don't see that with Desmond Ritter. The accuracy's not there. He's an older quarterback. He's not the same as a Kenny Pickett. He's not overly developed. If he was younger, maybe I would bank on it. But we're banking on a older quarterback who's just not there. I think he's gonna end up being, lower. We're gonna talk about a guy later who I would probably take over him right now. Desmond Ritter he doesn't do it for me. He doesn't do it for me, and you'll probably go into more detail about his mechanics and things like that in their offense. But successful college, great example of a great college player who's probably not going to be a legitimate NFL guy. I know I graded him extremely low. I'm not going to disclose that, but I know how the quarterback market is, and he's probably going to end up being a second or third round guy. But I'll watch him. I never want to knock anybody. I'm excited to watch him in Mobile.
Yeah, I think in terms of, Jason, there's another Jason Spears saying that he's the least favorite of the top 7. Yeah, honestly, I could see it. I think I go back and forth with him because I think if we're talking mentally ready, I think he's the second best quarterback.
I think he's very mature. He carries himself well. Good leader. All those. Yeah,
ready to start day one. Besides Pickett, he's my pick. I think he's the best at layering throws. I think he's the best with anticipation. Besides all this is besides Pickett, by the way. Besides Pickett, he's the best at layering throws, anticipation, reading the whole field. I think he's good at that stuff. Not great. Yeah. He's good for a guy who started as many games as he did.
Yeah, because he's played a ton of football.
I think he started like 42 games and he's won like 38 in his career. I believe that's what it is. Or 37.
Or he may have won. No, he may have won 43.
Okay. I know there was something in there with like the 42, 43.
He's played a lot of football.
Yeah, he's like the third most winningest quarterback.
Yeah, they put it up before the game at the Cotton Bowl. He was,
impressive. It's behind like Kellen Moore and somebody else. But I mean, I like a lot of what he brings mentally. I think the arm is good. I mean, he has a very natural arm where it's like his arm itself is good. My issues come in the lower half. And Colts fans who are watching this, you guys know from my Carson Wentz series, the lower half is huge. And I don't think he's poor at lining his feet or anything like that. I just think he's very stiff. The hips. And it scares me a lot because Carson Wentz is the same way. Yeah. Carson Wentz has a really, really good arm, but his hips are so stiff that it just kills his mechanics. It kills his accuracy. It kills his velocity on some throws. Now, Carson Wentz, was able to find success regardless at points.
And he's uber talented. When you're super talented, you get away with stuff.
Yeah, where I don't think Ritter is that talented. Ritter has good things about his film. Again, I like where he is at mentally. I like where he is at, like his arm talent's good.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't think the poise is there. I think he's a stiff thrower. He's athletic, but he doesn't really use it that much.
That was surprising. It's totally different when you see these guys live. And I'm glad they were outmatched because I got to see what it would be like his rookie year on a bad team. You know what I mean? And I didn't see a quarterback that was out there trying to take over. I saw him, all right, like, there you go. Or like,
he was trying to, I get it. It's Bama, but
but you're a big athletic guy.
of all the Bama defenses, this is the one that you could probably score a little bit on.
100%. They're not the juggernaut. They don't have the first round DBs. They were young. Yeah, I mean now they may have the best defender in the Saban era.
Yes.
They may have him, and then
another stud in that 15 kid as well.
Yeah, Dallas Turner, and they were harassing him. Yes. But this is the defense to take advantage of, and I kind of saw him. I felt like I saw him fold a little bit.
Yeah,
I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. But like you said, I think there's a lot to work with Ritter. Like I said, I'm not super high on him, but like I said, I think when you hear him talk, when you watch how he carries that team, when you watch him be the leader, it's like, okay, I get it. You're a mature guy, Ellinger.
okay, we're not gonna go there. We're not Kyle. I like Ellinger, great dude.
Yeah, I think Ritter's
a lot better than Sam.
His pro prospects are a lot better than Sam. I feel like that would be disrespectful to him because I think like Ellinger is
Bailey Zopp though. Bailey Zopp, I think this is a good.
Yeah, good comp, great comp.
No, I like. If you talk to me one day, I'll say Ritter is my quarterback 2. You'll talk to me another day, I'll say he's my quarterback 5 or 6. I am all over the place with him. Yeah. He's my toughest evaluation. I know that there are guys whose opinions I really respect. Nate Tice is one of them who has Ritter by far and away as quarterback 1. And then there's other guys who have charted every throw and other guys whose opinions I respect who have this quarterback like 6. So yeah. It really is all over the place with him, and I get both sides of the argument.
Well, and I think it's easy. It's easy to take the guy if you respect winning. If I just sit there and say, hey, this guy won this many games, he has a good arm, he's very mature. If I throw him in a good situation, he's probably not bad.
Yeah,
just realistic. He's probably not going to be bad. But I think the thing in this class is there's too many question marks with Howell, and everybody would say Howell, Corral, Willis are more talented quarterbacks than him.
I would agree. Yeah.
Right. Pickett is more refined. He's developed more. He's had more success in a better system. So I think in my head that automatically puts 4 guys ahead of you.
Yeah.
Like off rip, I think if I'm drafting to build a team, I think that's what happens. But yeah, we can go on and on about Desmond Ritter. It's going to be all over the place. I think Mobile's going to show us a lot. And I think a lot of opinions about him may be submitted next week. But
yeah, we will definitely see. I think the arm is going to look a lot different. I mean, again, I think his arm's good. It's just how athletic are you throwing the ball? I think that's the biggest issue. But yeah, you guys are doing great with the comments here. Please keep leaving them comments, questions, anything. Doesn't even have to be quarterback related. You can talk Colts or drafts. We'll jump on those here as we go. But let's talk about another polarizing guy who I really, really liked his film, but I just don't know, especially with the knee question mark, but I just don't know how he fits in today's NFL. And that's Carson Strong. I like him. He's another guy like Ritter where I have no clue how to rank him because of the questions I have.
The knee.
The knee is the biggest one, though.
The knee is the biggest flag.
Yeah, huge.
But he's the guy 7 years ago, he's probably the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If he goes with Jared Goff and all them, he's probably a top 5 pick.
Yeah, he's right in there because I feel like he falls in that same category as player. Tall, big, good arm. He can sling it around the field. He can drive balls down the field. But the statue, thing is kind of dead.
It is.
It's Brady's not even a statue. Brady moves, man, and then we're not going Mac Vick. He can run around.
He ran a 4.6, didn't he?
Hey, Mac's an athlete. He's a golfer, a tennis player. I forgot which one it was.
I think it was tennis player. I think that was Rosen. Like I don't know.
But yeah, like Carson Strong is a guy that he did what I thought he would do, and I think he did what if you followed him and you follow Nevada, whole team came back, lit it up. He looks good. He's going to look good. It's going to be hard to knock him, but we don't know. It's like what really are you? How good are you really? And we talk about how big Mobile, and it's an older class. All these guys are old, college standard wise. They're all old, but they're all going to be in the same place, and they're all going to be throwing next to each other. So we're going to get to see, like you said, mechanics. We're going to get to see how the ball pops off their hand. We're going to see how they carry themselves. But the thing about the Senior Bowl is you get to see who the real leaders are in that environment. And that's the number one thing, when we talk about ability, to be a top, first round quarterback, you're going to have to check the boxes, with intangibles and things like that. But can you actually lead people?
Yeah.
We talked about Jalen Hurts earlier. He gets away with things because of athleticism, but he gets away with things because of how he carries himself.
Yes.
Because
absolutely.
I don't care who you are, whether you're a rookie or a 10-year vet, when Jalen Hurts talks or walks around somewhere, you're like, I respect him.
Dude, I would follow him anywhere, and I don't like the Eagles at all. Like anything he wants me to do, man.
And when he talks, you're like, man, like you played awful today. He is like, he takes accountability.
I'm like, dude, it's everyone else's fault. It's everyone else's fault.
Man, no,
it's not yours. They should have caught those interceptions. It's not your fault,
man. Yeah, and so I think that's the interesting with like Carson Strong. I'm gonna be watching him closely because being at Nevada, we don't really get, and we didn't pay that much attention. If you pay attention to the draft, your eyes were on him and you checked in on him and you got to watch him. But yeah, he's good. I think he's a really good football player. Question marks though. There's definitely question marks there.
Yeah, and I agree, Jason. I do think the Colts need a leader at quarterback, and I do think this class is actually really good for that. Kenny Pickett, by all accounts, I mean, his team rallied around him, and they won the ACC this year. Won the ACC with him leading the way. Ritter, we talked about him as a leader. There's a lot of these guys. Everything I've heard about Willis is great as well in terms of leadership and ability. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of good guys for that in this class. But Carson Strong is so tough for me because I was talking about this with Kent Swanson, who I'm doing the draft guide with the KC guys, and he's doing quarterbacks. And Carson Strong, if you were to stack every quarterback's top 5 throws in this class, Willis probably is the most flashy, but Strong's are probably the most impressive in terms of anticipation, throwing in traffic, changing his throwing lanes.
Windows, gosh, it's pretty. Yeah. Like when if you just do a thread, of these quarterbacks making throws, it's gonna be like Willis is like, man, he hit that home run 500 feet. You know what I mean? But then you see like Strong, it's just like shot. Huh.
Yeah, it's whole shot between the safety and corner closing in, and he put it in the perfect spot.
That's my favorite one of him. That's my favorite one. I know which one of you Jack's talking about. Like, I love that throw.
Yeah, there's that. There's he'll layer like a tight end post in between a robot linebacker and a safety. Like he'll just layer these throws so well, and it's such a high level that you're like, man, this guy's gonna be a good NFL quarterback, and he moves well in the he is stiff. He's very stiff.
Statue.
Statue, but his feet are good in the pocket. He moves well in the pocket.
Do you know who does he work with? I know he's out there out west. You know who he works with?
I'll have to reach out to my guys. If he's out west, I think Jordan Palmer's out west, so he might be with Palmer.
I know Palmer's out there. Is Pinelli out there?
Pinelli might be out there. I can hit up Pinelli. Pinelli is really good with that stuff. But yeah, I would guess Palmer, but
because I like to hear. I like the and I always pre-draft. I know Avery. He works out with a bunch of guys out here in the Southeast. Yeah. I love to hear these guys talk about these prospects. I feel like they give real evaluations of them, but they also talk about what they could improve on. And I just like to hear them kind of dissect the guys because they're never going to knock them because they're their guys, but they do give you a ton of information about things that they worked on, about things that they got better at, and it kind of lets you know what they weren't as good at coming in. And it goes for any other position when we talk about DBs, when we talk about receivers. I like to hear their combine or their camp or whatever all-star game. I love to hear their coaches talk about them because it gives you a ton of insight.
Yep. Yeah, Strong, the biggest thing for me, if the knee checks out, I think he isn't as safe as Pickett, but he's the safest quarterback in this class. I think he can be if the knee is not like Todd Gurley level, like degenerative,
like chronic knee issue, nerve damage.
It might be from some of the stuff I've been hearing. It's bad from everything I've heard. So we'll have to see the medical checks down the Senior Bowl.
Well, was it Jonathan Allen was like that a couple years ago? he had to say he got flagged. He failed in the first round, because he had that 7-8 years. It's over for you.
True. Yeah, then we see guys like Jai who eventually fall apart, and all these other guys. But I like the way he moves in the pocket. I like how he throws with anticipation. I like how he's aggressive, but not too aggressive. It's just a statue quarterback with a knee issue and with a good arm. Not great.
Yeah, it's good.
Good arm. I kind of get a lot of Nick Foles vibes from him. I think Nick Foles is what pops for me. And Jason Spears asked here, how do you think he would fit with Reich? I think he would kind of fit the way that Foles did. He can operate the offense well.
Yeah.
Now, will it always be super? Because I don't know how Strong compares to Foles, where Foles is either red hot or he's terrible. There's no in between.
Foles went 20-1.
Yeah, Nick Foles is either the best quarterback in the NFL or he's not playable.
Bro,
there's no in between.
When he got his chance to spin it, I was a fan of Foles when he came out of Arizona, and they had that big receiver. Because I think I was still in high school then.
Yeah.
And he had some big receiver, and I remember them lighting it up. When he got his chance with the Eagles, and then I looked at his stats, I'm like, did he just throw 20 touchdowns and 1 pick? Or did he then he goes in this tear in the Super Bowl? I'm like, what in the world is going on? If Matt Flynn never happened, it was Matt Flynn?
What Matt Flynn with the
if Matt Flynn never happened, that gets paid. Nick Foles gets a big bag.
He got a pretty big bag though,
and then Russell Wilson comes in. And he's like, "Nah, I got this."
No, I'm saying Foles got a pretty big contract. From the Jaguars, right?
Well, it was weird because he never really
he didn't really get a shot with it though.
Yeah, Foles. You think you Super Bowl MVP? You lit it up from one season. If I just showed you clips of that playoff run and that season where he lit it up for Philly, you're like, this kid's this guy's a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, what happened to him? Career backup.
We don't know. Foles is either the best thing ever or he's just backup. Backup. But I think Strong is similar. It's not an overly impressive arm, but he can layer some throws. He can get red hot, and when he's in rhythm, I mean,
he's an NFL thrower.
Yes.
Some guys you worry about like Kyle Trask, noodle. Carson Strong has a very if knee checks out.
I have to keep that while you're talking about him here because
if knee checks out.
It's the biggest thing.
But Carson went NFL level player. You know what I mean? And with development, over time in the right spot, he could do well if the knee checks out, of course.
If the knee checks out, that's the biggest thing. I hope we get more clarification on this though, because I want to like Strong a good bit. I am terrified, and from what I've heard, Indy's kind of strict about how they don't pass certain injury, they didn't pass Todd Gurley back in the day.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're going to pass Carson Strong, so that's why I'm kind of I want
Todd Gurley was a generational type guy.
Yeah.
When Todd Gurley should have won the MVP that year, and super uber talented, but we all know longevity is the game, and we're picking in the top 15. I need you for at least 6-7 years, bro. Yeah. I need you to be a foundation piece for my franchise.
Yeah. Now we got one more quarterback to talk, and we're actually almost at the hour mark, but we're good. We'll keep going. This is the draft show. We keep going. We got one more quarterback, and I know a lot of people, some NFL draft scouts would have Bailey Zapp here, or Bailey Zapp, or whatever his name is. However you say his name. I'm not going to have him here, though.
Yeah.
I was so happy, and I was a little bummed because I wanted to see another year of him in college, but I was
I was surprised.
I'm happy he's in this class, though. Caleb Ellerbee from Western Michigan.
Yep.
I am super, super intrigued by this guy. But what did you think from your watching of him?
I like him. He caught on my radar last year. I don't know what they're doing, but they've had these two electric receivers between Eskridge last year, who destroyed the Senior Bowl, got drafted. He flew up the boards, got drafted to the Seahawks, and then they got a guy Sky Moore.
He might be better.
And I like him a lot. I talked about him in my wide receiver episode as a guy that would be friends. Hey, don't be shocked if this guy hops into the top 5, top 7 receivers.
So good.
And I noticed him by evaluating them.
Yep.
And Ellerbee, one of my boys shot it to me, I think last November. I was like, hey, check this quarterback out. And I was like, okay, cool. I was like, okay, he can spin it. Good athlete. okay, let me check the stats out. Oh, he's efficient.
Yeah.
Wait, like what's going on? And then like you get to see him against like Liberty, and you get to see him against some of these other schools, and like the kid can play.
Oh, yeah.
I think you hear it all the time, but like obviously he's the guy that's going to be uber productive, uber efficient, and he's going to fall in that Russell Wilson mold, where like people aren't gonna fall in love with him, but you're gonna admit that he's good, and you can't admit that he's not good, because like I feel like he's an easy passer. I like a lot about Ellerbee's game, and I just I'm more of a fan of him, as far as like the critique, because he is smaller and he's not being put on the pedestal of these other guys. So the criticism, I don't feel like, is necessarily warranted unless you're just, strictly evaluating him.
Yeah,
but
I think he's like 6'1".
Yeah.
Like 200 maybe, or maybe even
200-ish. Yeah, like somewhere around. So not very big. I don't think he has an elite trait when you talk about what's that even mean? When you talk about, I don't think he necessarily has an elite trait, but solid football player, really good, quarterback prospect, and fun prospect to evaluate, because you see these receivers how good they are, and you can't ignore him because he's just letting it rip on film.
Yeah, man. It's not a super strong arm, but it's a good arm for a 6'1" guy too. Again, for kind of a smaller guy, he rips it, and he attacks all over the field, outside the hashes, inside the numbers, between hole shots. He will attack those hole shots.
My favorite ball for him are like the ones between like 15 and like 35 yards. I feel like it's just like perfect. The touch he has on like fade balls in that range is like he just puts it right in there.
There's this one, I think it was like a slot, like corner route between like a cover 2 corner that was coming back and like a safety over the top, and he just dropped it perfect in stride on the sideline. I mean, he just has a really good arm, good velocity. He knows what he's doing. I really like him. I think there is a lot of growth that is needed from him. Yeah. But if you told me 5 years from now the best quarterback from this class was Caleb Ellerbee, it wouldn't shock me. Like,
no, not at all.
He's talented. He's that talented. It's just, will he go like what, 3rd round, 4th round? Maybe?
I would think he falls in that range. Honestly,
will he get a shot? Is the real thing with him. Will he ever get a shot?
Yeah. And I think it would take something happening. Obviously, like I talked about, like the Russell Wilson thing. I remember when I was younger watching Russell Wilson at NC State, and I was like, man, this quarterback's good. They were talking about it. They pulled his stats up. It was like, his quarterback rating, all this stuff, and that stuff was high. And then it's like, coach didn't want to play this. They picked Glennon over him because Wisconsin lights it up. Just flat out beats Flynn in the competition. I wouldn't be shocked if we went into a situation where Ellerbee is 3rd, 4th round. He goes into a quarterback who's not necessarily amazing, solid, and then he's just balling. Maybe an injury happens, and then he plays well. He's that type of guy. I'm not gonna bank on that because I'm putting all my stock into Malik Willis, and I don't really have any more chips to bet on.
But if you miss on Willis in like round 1, and Ellerbee is there in like round 3, and you're a team like the Colts. Say you're a team like the Colts. Carson Wentz.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, you can't upgrade Carson Wentz. Probably, like it's very likely the Colts aren't going to be able to upgrade from Carson Wentz. Ellerbee sitting there in round 3,
and solid backup, and you may not even have to go 3rd. Like, quite frankly, like
4th,
like you may not have to go to that point, and maybe you double dip. Like you pull a Washington,
Screw it.
And they took RG3 and took Kirk. Like, hey, let's go round 1. We're gonna take Malik Willis with.
Indy doesn't have round 1 because of
Carson. I know.
But I know what you mean. Yeah.
But like,
where teams could do that with
your team, you want to double dip, and hey, I'm gonna go. Like, we need a quarterback. I'm gonna go Malik Willis, and then I'm gonna go Caleb Ellerbee. Like later, like 3rd, 4th round, like screw it. We got a bunch of picks. Or if you're a team like the Jets or whoever, and you got a ton of draft capital, and you're just like, okay, let's go for it. I wouldn't be shocked because he can play. He can play, and people should talk about him more. I know Zap's gonna get a lot of attention because he lit it up, but he can hit those. Which one are you laughing at?
I was just laughing at Zap.
Yeah, but the Zap thing. It caught my attention. It caught my team pulling a Washington.
Yeah, so I was a Washington fan back then, Matt, where Washington took RG3 and Cousins. So what Hag was saying was like a team takes Willis round 1, but then like Ellerbee in round 4, and who knows, Ellerbee ends up being the better quarterback. It wouldn't shock me at all.
Because he's efficient. I think he plays like he's smart. Like he makes the right decisions. Things like that. So I wouldn't be shocked with him, but he's a guy definitely to watch. I wish people talked about him more. Because it's easy to hop on the Zap train. That sounds weird, but Zap train, and because he lit it up, and you saw Matt Miller talk about it today, and at QB4, people love him and things like that. But he's probably not a good athlete as Ellerbee. I think if I put Ellerbee in that same offense, he probably looks better. In a crazy way. Record-breaking quarterback.
Yeah, I'd say Zap was breaking records.
Great college quarterback. Great college, like incredible college quarterback, like at Houston Baptist to here, lit it up. But I think that's what he is. I think he's a great college football player. And, other than that, I don't think the arm, I don't think the other things are there for him necessarily to be an NFL guy. Now, I may be wrong. I completely missed on guys before. I'm a DB guy by trade, but I definitely
both of us. This is what we.
Yeah, I definitely do my homework. But I like Caleb Ellerbee. If you haven't watched him, go check him out. Kid can play, and if you haven't watched Sky Moore, go watch him as well because they got two of the best players in the draft up there at Western Michigan, and they're fun to watch.
Yeah, man. Ellerbee. I think I wrote a quarterback article for like options for like basically just summarizing the whole draft of these top 7 guys on Sports Illustrated, so you guys can check that. I think it's from a couple weeks ago, so maybe my opinions are a little different back then than they are now. But I think I wrote in that article, I said like Ellerbee is the guy. Like he's the guy. If you want a quarterback where if you're stuck with Carson Wentz for another year and you want a quarterback to kind of be under him and like, hey, maybe if he has a good rookie year behind Wentz, or if Wentz gets hurt, then he gets thrown in there. Ellerbee's the guy I want. Super efficient, super accurate. I don't want to say this to comp, but like Gardner Minshew type, where it's like a little bit later, but he's really productive every time he gets a chance. I think Ellerbee can be that kind of guy. I kind of like Ellerbee more than I ever liked Minshew coming out, but it's all different. But I really, really like Ellerbee. I think his name deserves to be in the conversation with the top 6, even though it's not in that conversation right now. But I really like Ellerbee. And yeah, Jason, that's a great point right here about Pitt and Pickett. The best game to watch to see 2 good quarterbacks in this class is Western Michigan and Pitt. Western Michigan and Pitt is a quarterback duel between 2 really good quarterbacks.
Going at, and that's what people really realize. I think they realize how good Pickett was. I think they realize how good like Jordan. Is it Jordan or Jaden Addison?
Jaden Addison.
Jaden Addison, dude. He'll be next cycle. And then they got to see Ellerbee, Sky Moore, and all those guys. Like it was a true duel, and it was a great QB battle.
Yeah, absolutely great game there. Jake mentioning how Ellerbee hits those crossers on the money. Yeah, he honestly hits everything, man. He's so good. The thing is, it's not even like he won't be a guy who can drop like a 50-yard bomb on you every time.
No.
But he's gonna kill teams in the intermediate if he gets a shot in the NFL.
Oh yeah, he'll go 5, 6, 12 all day, 15 all day. Boom, boom, pop, 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 pop. And it's not like it's weak. It's just that's not his style. Like he'll kill you and he'll actually drive on you and beat you.
Yeah, I really like him. Jake, also, did I miss Colts future quarterback one, Carson Strong? Please, the knee needs to check out. The knee.
Yeah. He actually commented that like as we were finishing talking about Strong.
Oh, did he? Okay.
I saw it pop up.
Yeah, we did talk about him, Jake. We both like Carson Strong. It's just
medical
statue with a knee issue.
Yeah, you can't be an immobile statue, bro.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough nowadays. It's tough. And then one more from Jake here. He's take a rhythmic, accurate passing game all day. Yeah, I mean after what we just saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason says the same thing. Fire Wentz in the sun and play Ellerbee.
Damn, they're brutal.
I mean, look, when you watch a whole year of how volatile Wentz is, having a guy like Ellerbee would be fun, and it would be someone to have more hope in because he's young at least.
Well, you look at it, you look at just from a Colts perspective, like you have the running game. Mm-hmm. You have the running game for the next couple of years, right? And then you get him another weapon. You plug a guy who's efficient and accurate, you're not going to get bad football. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be able to control the clock. You're going to be able to run the game. Like you said, you'll be able to nickel and dime it down the field, maybe take some shots every now and then. It wouldn't be a horrible thing, honestly.
Everyone, any quarterback, just anything. We got the commenters that all are in the anti-Carson Wentz here. I really wish this was like a regular quarterback class, because then Pickett would be like an early second round guy that they can move up for, and Pickett would have just been perfect. Get him in a dome for half the year with his small hands, and and I really think that it would have been a perfect fit. But Pickett's going to go early.
Yeah, he'll go early.
But I appreciate you guys tuning in for the quarterback talk. Hag and I are not quarterback guys by trade. I know I studied a lot of quarterback stuff last year, but I haven't dove too deep in these guys to where I say like everything that I said here is like my 100% opinion. I told you my Ritter and Strong takes are all over the place every day. So I'm still watching these guys. I'm still kind of getting through the quarterbacks, but worst quarterback class since 2013. I don't know. I don't know if we'll be looking back on it and saying that. I think we will have a couple guys that are okay, but I think it's a great year for backups.
Yeah. I think a handful of these guys will be around for a minute.
Yeah, so. I mean, Pickett will be around for a long time.
Yeah,
no matter what. I think Strong will if his knee's okay. I think Corral and how teams will always be able to talk themselves into them being a backup. And Ritter, like you said, screams a backup.
No, 100%. 100%. I think if there was a year where we had like one or two guys who were super established, it'd be easy, but we don't. So now they're all jumbled up.
Yeah, but next week, guys, I think we're going to talk corners because the show was so defensive back based throughout the season. I think getting to corners, and Hag has been doing extensive homework on this quarterback class.
Yeah, we digging, we chopping.
I've done some brief work. I have the guys I really like, and I will say the day 3 corners look like fun for the Colts because all these guys are at like 6 foot plus, and they will beat the hell out of everyone across from them. Are they good? No, but they will beat the hell out of everybody.
There's some big guys. Definitely some physical cats in this class.
Big dudes. These receivers down in Mobile might get their butts kicked just at the line, just getting beat up. Like they'll probably still score.
Tackled. Yeah.
Oh man. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys tuning in. But we'll be back next week. We'll try to do this every Wednesday here to talk about a different position or just maybe do some of your questions a couple of these times. But guys, tune in next week for quarterback talk and talking about how great this quarterback class is with Hag. He's going to be going super in detail with it.